problem is when you see the trouble and when you see the lens of how things are, sometimes it even shocks me that this could have been missed or this did not raise an alarm bell maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because there's so many behavior trends, but we'll come to that. I want to talk about that in depth much later. But coming back to ISB, tell us about life. So you went there, you had a whole bunch of people who knew life is not a jigsaw puzzle because they've already fitted in the piece. They know the life is this beautiful picture, perfect frame. They have the picture. You're going to this place where you don't even know the puzzle. You have to now accumulate the pieces and try and make the picture. How was life there? For our audience who perhaps yearn to say that they want to be a part of such institutions, first question, how difficult is it to get in? And once you get in, what is life like inside?
See, I think, the 5th batch of ISB. It was still an up-and-coming B school at that point in time. We had some of the best international faculties coming to teach us. So, again, for someone who didn't have access to international education, this was mind-blowing, right? Like the whole case study approach. We came from ratta learning approach. Correct. Engineering mein, 1 week before, we would get everywhere. Xerox copies, we would have to study that.
And
puke, come back, nothing after that, right? Like I don't remember anything after that. So, and here you're studying cases and you have to solve by experience of what they're trying to teach in that module. And I was like, boss, this is really hard because I can't like ratta maro and get marks here. You have to apply.
Right.
And nobody has ever taught you how to apply, right? And so that itself was a shift in how I looked at things. And when I'm studying something, okay, what should be my takeaway, how to apply it. So that was what my takeaway from ISB was. Second takeaway, networking. Was ISB, I made some fantastic friends, right? And they are friends for life now. I can pick up the phone and talk to them even today. And it's like nothing has changed in all these years. And like some of our batchmates have been stellar, right? And I don't want to name them because they're already celebrities in their own right. But I mean, for me, that was the takeaway. Meeting all these fantastic people, growing with them. That was for me ISB. Now, when you ask me, okay, what should people look out for? How easy is it to get into ISB? I've heard it's gotten tougher over the years, only because, the number of people applying for it has gone up. Now ISB is a more recognized brand, so all the good things. So it's a little harder to get in, but...
in fact, I have a very fond memory of ISB. I think 2010 is when you guys set up the private equity club.
No, is it?
And I used to be those days in Amarchand. And I was doing a lot of private equity those days, right? And I remember the guy who set it up because I knew him from, I think he was working in Godrej before he went to ISB. And most people in ISB would actually go and treat MBA like what is it in the West, which is basically a mid-career enhancement program.
Yeah.
Unlike in India where the mindset is, कि भाई graduation हो गया सीधा MBA कर लो.
Correct.
Because you will get the better paycheck. So I remember I was also invited to come and lecture and give a guest lecture on negotiations because lawyers, and at least corporate lawyers, are known to go across and be reasonably decent in negotiations, and God's been kind. I think you've seen me.
Yeah.
I think I'm reasonably okay in negotiations.
Yeah, you're just being modest, but yeah.
But the beauty was that a college recognizes and starts calling stakeholders from different fields, saying experts need to come in and give their view.
Yeah.
And the students actually learn out of it. So I think that also was very unique.
Yes.
Because at least in our education, it was never, at least the time that I passed my law out, it was never the situation like that. It was typically, again, just go, read, puke, get out.
Yeah. No, I think that was what ISB offered, right? Like actual real world experiences. They would call a lot of experts, practitioners to talk to us. And we didn't have access to these, and social media didn't exist that time. Yeah. So it was meeting these people real time, talking about their life journeys, case studies on them. That's how we learned, right? And back in 2006, I think the VCPE industry was still a very nascent industry. Like there was not too much to even talk about.
In fact, I started working in this industry about 2005. And in 2005, you would predominantly see private equity.
Correct.
Because VC was still
No,
evolving. They did not
yeah.
even have the risk-taking appetite.
Correct.
The larger private equity houses were coming in for more deals like, let's say, in the financial services spaces, in
Yeah.
the real estate spaces, as you were
Yeah.
mentioning, in the asset management spaces. And then that entire curve happened to say
Correct.
that India is perhaps now the next pool of opportunity. And that's where the rise of VCs happened to a great extent.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think we are one of those older people who have been in this industry longer. And hence, maybe we tend to be a little more conservative in our outlook.
And thankfully so.
I don't know.
In today's world, I think thankfully
I don't
so.
know.
After all that we are hearing.
Yeah, but these things.
So coming
Come
back
and
to
go.
ISB, so it's getting difficult obviously because now the recognition is there, the pedigree is higher.
Yeah,
That's a natural phenomenon of any organization or any institution that becomes popular. But the core education, was it also about the fact that it's not just about network and the lifelong friendships that you make, but it's also about the fact that education needs to be experiential? And perhaps this is one of those institutions which enhanced and emphasized on that.
Absolutely. And of course, now after ISB, a lot of other institutions have kind of designed themselves in a similar manner. But this is the most important thing in anyone's education, right? And I think now I'm seeing it even in schools nowadays.
Our kids, for that
Our
matter.
kids, I'm seeing grade 10, grade 11, 12 kids approaching us to shadow us, right? Because they want first-hand experience of what we are going through, for them to take life decisions, which we didn't have
were
those
lost,
options.
yeah. We didn't even know what we were doing in grade 9, 10, 11.
Correct, right? And now when I meet, like Monday, tomorrow, there's this kid who's going to be coming to shadow me.
Fabulous.
And I saw his CV and I was like, dude.
And imagine the pressures on us now.
I know.
My God, there's a child shadowing and you think you better live up to his or her expectations.
Grade 12 going to Stanford for his
Just
undergrad and his CV is already like perfect. And I said, what can I teach you? You will be teaching me. And he's like, no, I just want to see what happens.
So now, post ISB, what happened?
So post ISB, of course, real estate.
Which one?
This was called Starwood Capital.
Okay.
So part of the Starwood hotels, they wanted to set up shop in India because that time India was big in real estate, and so they thought they wanted to dabble around it.
So how was that experience?
I mean, of course, I learned.
I get this mixed emotion feeling from you.
Yeah, it was mixed for multiple reasons. A, it was the fund itself, right? It was a US fund, and I don't think they saw Indian talent ready for private equity, mainly because we weren't, right? Like, I don't think we had the kind of,
not at that point of time.
Like the data points were not there. They would say, ask us to evaluate deals and they would ask for 100 data points on a certain deal, right? And in India, you don't have those 100 data points back in the day. And then they would share the deal memos that they would be writing there, which even marked properties like in a whole block that they were investing in, so that they know exactly what competition they will be facing. And here we are like, we have no clue what's going to come around here in the next few years, right? So
and no process as well.
No process. Everything is just by touch and feel and understanding the market and being deeply penetrated in the market.
Or befriending the security guards in those projects to say कि भाई यहाँ पे इस तरीके का building आ रहा है.
Correct. That's exactly
That's
what
the reality.
That was the diligence we would be doing. We would just keep walking up and down that road, figuring out, okay, who owns this plot of land, who owns that plot of land.
The mapping procedure.
Yes, and to say, okay, is there a threat if you put up something here? Those kind of things.
Right.
So I didn't see it as a great outcome for me, and so that's why it was a little frustrating. And especially the fund that I was in, they were looking at more the creamy layer, that is the luxury segment of investing, which India was not ready for it at that time, right? And we kept telling them that, listen, you need to look at MIG, affordable housing. Those are
and I know that's such a close subject to your heart.
It is. So, and I had done really deep research in that area to say that, this is the thesis we should be investing in. But there was no a DNA towards that, and it was not an interest area. And for them, India was like a small blip
Very
in their
small blip in the
overall
radar,
scheme
I'm
of
sure,
things.
yeah.
It was more like a nuisance than anything else.
Or more of an experiment which you don't know whether you want to
Yeah,
actually
they
follow
had to
through
be
or
here
not.
because everyone else was
Yeah,
here.
the FOMO.
The founder, Indian promoters are very hard
Very different,
promoters,
very
very different from
And real estate promoters are very different compared to others.
exactly, right. And so there was a little bit sense of mistrust also when they are getting in here, and it was not just them. Most of the
I'm
foreign
sure.
funds were
I
there.
remember.
And I think half of them lost their shirt, their pant, and everything else also in the process, right? Very few people actually made money of that vintage.
True.
So, but the promoters made a lot.
Yeah, a whole bunch of them. Some of them made money and disappeared. So we have that situation
Absolutely,
also.
right?
Yeah.
So that was my journey, as my first
Fabulous.
job.
And then what happened then?
And then, of course, there was disillusionment that it's like, this is not exciting. Being an investor in a space that, you're not even building something, right? You're not creating anything.
Correct.
And that's when I read about social entrepreneurship.
Interesting.
And that time it was a word that was just getting up some buzz, interest, microfinance as a sector was picking up. So from real estate, hardcore capitalist investing, I thought, maybe impact investing, which was emerging asset class.
How did you come across it?
Just by reading and then...
Because it's so different planets, right? You're coming from a completely capitalist mindset to today, perhaps you're one of the most, and I'm going to touch that separately, but you're one of the most well-renowned impact investors as a woman in the country that you're known as. How did you make these planets meet?
So the interesting journey, and as I said, sometimes I am destiny's child, right? So when I was looking at real estate, right, and I was trying to figure out what is the next big asset class to invest in, and affordable housing was coming up repeatedly.
Right.
And it was an overlap in what I was doing. And then when I was looking at affordable housing, the problem statement was more in how to offer credit.
Right.
Because for this segment, it's not like they didn't want homes. It was they couldn't afford these homes.
And so therefore also credit worthiness. How do you manage that?
Yes. How does credit fit into this? And so I kept going deeper and deeper, and who are the ones solving for this problem?
Right.
And then this whole new set of people called impact investors came in front, and I was like, who are these guys? These seem like a cool lot.
Right.
And that's when there was a very interesting article in Business World that had come at that time, where Vineet, who's the chairman of Aavishkaar, was featured in it as people who are investing in the other India. And I was like, I want to be doing that.